What's up, guys? Ace here, bringing guys a Fire Force Season 2, Episode 8, Smoldering Malevolence review. This was a pretty decent episode, I think. It was okay. We got a little more information on what's happening in this Amaterasu-like structure, aka the Tabernacle. And am I the only one, but does anyone else think that Amaterasu is like such a cool name? Like, cool sounding name? It sounds sick. I think it sounds sick. Maybe it's just because, like, hearing it from Naruto, it kind of sounds just like, I don't know, the sound of it just makes me feel some sort of way. Anyways, into the episode. So, in the last episode, we got basically more information about the Tabernacle slightly. We got this voice from Shinra in the beginning of this episode, actually. And we're wondering, like, who's that? Are these the bandits in the episode? Is this... what was happening? And it seems like there's some sort of force on Tabernacle that's acting on play that is more than just animals. Because it seems like, for the most part, what we got from last episode, it was just animals acting in the forest, and there weren't actually humans in the forest. And it was really weird because first thought, it's like, are the evangelists in there? Or like who like the white clad? Like, who's in this tabernacle, right? But it turned out that they're actually some sort of weird cult-like infernals in this structure, which is super interesting to think about, because you don't really see the infernals as like these sentient beings, but in this episode we got sentient infernals, which is kind of interesting. Like, that was kind of like, that's not something we got before. We got a few sentient infernals, but not at this sort of scale. This was like a massive infernal cult. Like, it's really weird. But before we got into any of that, before we got into more details on that, we first started off with fights, and that was cool. Fights between the Infernals and the Hellhounds, everyone else. I guess every enemy that you could see in this forest against the crew, aka Shinra and the crew. And it went as you thought it would go. Like, there's too many of them. Run, all that sort of mess. Although I don't want to make it sound like they were being overnumbered. They weren't really, but in the end, it seemed like they were. But they seemed to carry themselves pretty nicely. That was fine. We saw some nice things from the Lieutenant. We saw him like able to use like a bunch of buffs and stuff, like, which is a cool idea. Because like, I don't think this Lieutenant we've seen before, have we? I don't think we have. Anyways, the idea of like buffing people in this sort of anime is interesting, sort of a thought, because it's just, I wouldn't see it coming, right? This is like, I'm thinking like a bunch of like Dragon Ball Z sort of stuff, right? Like, fire punches and like that, like powers and like typical shonen stuff like that, right? Like, but you don't really think of buffs, right? Like, if you think of Naruto, there wasn't really anyone that got buffs besides like Sakura, who like they buffed themselves. I guess there were a few. There were wrong. There were a few, but like I feel like in a canonical sense for shonen, most of the times there aren't many buffs. I could be wrong with that, but I thought that was particularly interesting to see with the Lieutenant. Anyways, after the fights, we go in closer and close on the Tabernacle, and we start trying to see what's in the Tabernacle. But we get some details from the animals that the leader of this cult-like of infernals is actually a infernal demon, which honestly I have been thus far kind of unimpressed by the infernal demons, simply because the first time we fought an infernal demon, it seemed like it did nothing. Maybe it's because it just wasn't sentient, and like not all, because it seems like for the most part in this anime, there's like a certain gradient of sentience between a lot of things, and maybe the last infernal demon we saw just didn't have much sentience, because what we saw was basically just everything around the infernal demon last time just got blown to shreds, and the demon didn't do anything. Like, it's simply just like, it didn't do anything. I was really, really unsure of like how powerful this demon was, because they made it seem like it was going to be really strong, but then they slowly were able to like stop it. Like, maybe it's really, I don't know, maybe it's dependent on the demon, probably. Like, not all demons are the same, infernal demons are the same, so who knows. But I was really looking forward to see how this demon compared to the other one. And for the most part, it looked like it compared actually stronger than the other demon. After going into the Tabernacle, closing in and investigating a little bit, we have 4 Fire Force members on the outside and 3 on the inside just investigating, as well as the Sparrow inside investigating, while the Mole was on the outside, trying to defend the entrance with Shinra and everyone else. And we see, lo and behold, the demon come out, the demon cult leader. And they have been collecting some tablets. We have no clue what the tablets are. They're collecting a bunch of tablets, and I'm wondering if it means something. apparently meant pie. By the end of the episode, we found out it meant pie. That was a little weird. Like, what's the point of having pie there? And it's like, what do you do with these tablets? Like, are you just gonna, like, I don't know. Like, what do you do with stone tablets? Like, decipher something in the plant? I don't know. It's kind of weird. But maybe the pie is the password or something in the plant that is required to blow the plant up, like a red button that requires some sort of like authentication, and the authentication is pi. I don't know how long the string of numbers is, but it seems like it's gonna go forever because there's like bajillion tablets and there's so much numbers on the wall, and it's just like they have to know that many numbers of pi. Jeez Louise. Anyways, after that, after we figure out that pi is being written on these slates, we transition to the outside of the episode where we see the demons encroaching on the crew that are blocking the entrance from the outside world to the outside world. And we see, the one and only, the infernal demon that's also super sentient, that's also like super culty, and I don't want to say godlike complex, but he definitely feels like very much a cult leader, right? Like, he's telling everyone to listen to him. They're going to get their place in heaven if they follow him correctly. If people don't follow him, they get lower, and they get lower placed in heaven, which is super like interesting for like a infernal demon to sort of think of this, because it's like, do they really understand what heaven is if they're like a demon, right? Like, isn't demon supposed to be opposite of like angel, and thus it's like you're going the wrong way, sir. Like, you're going the wrong way up. You're going up the down ladder or something like that, right? Like, I don't think you're gonna be going to heaven, but I could be wrong. Maybe this is just like another. Of course, I say it like this, but like, Soul in this anime is supposed to be like the ultimate god, right? I think for the most part, he's the creator of everything, and so he's represented mostly by like fire and light and stuff like that. If you guys play D&D, you'll know this. And I guess because that's the case, like, being infernal is simply just a transitioning stage to go places, right? Like, while we might see them as demons or something like that, they might just be seen by like something else as like a transitioning human or something like that. So I guess that's understandable if you think of it that way. But anyways, I thought very poorly about this demon, but then when we fought, we saw that it could actually keep up with Shinra, which is kind of interesting. Shinra did end up taking a single blast from it, and I was like, okay, Shinra didn't die. That was interesting. He did stay on the ground for a little bit, but it wasn't too much to warrant anything, any sort of concern or anything. So it looks like we're going to have a fight. And I had to say, the one thing I really wished that this anime did was actually go into the fight. You know what it did? It went into the fight. So at first, before we went and fight this demon, Lieutenant was saying how, we don't have enough firepower to fight this demon. We're just going to survey, and we're just going to check out to see what's happening with this tabernacle. And I was like, okay, that's going to be kind of boring. You're just going to survey and go back, like, what's that going to look like? Especially for, like, a 20-episode anime. It's going to be like, are you really going to delegate this to, like a fodder episode? Like, just to, like, go in, check on this oasis and just leave? Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I didn't want that to happen in the first place. But it turned out that Shinra, the main dude, he was just like, we can't have no infernals here. You're gonna get them. And I was so hyped for that. Like, we actually get to continue this fight, and like, we're actually gonna see more fighting. This infernal, I did not want them to back away from this infernal whatsoever. That would have been the worst possible timeline, I think, personally. But anyways, Shinra goes and tries to fight the infernal, and he's fighting a little bit. The infernal seems to be blocking all of his attacks. So I'm like really curious. Like, despite how this infernal may portray itself, it's actually pretty strong. And it's super conscious. It's conscious of like the people it's losing, which is what you can't say about the previous Infernal, which is kind of cool. We're getting a little more information about the Infernal, and that's basically about it. We do get one little scene with Shinra and the crazy spatial girl recollection from the animals had gotten, which basically that weird girl that dressed in all black. We don't know who she is, but we're getting something from her, and she, I think, did something to Shinra. She left some sort of thing on the tabernacle, which ended up, I think, causing Shinra to get this little feeling from her. And I think that boosted Shinra. I think, for whatever reason, I think it gave Shinra enough firepower to beat this ghost, or not this ghost, beat this infernal. So I'm super pumped for next episode, because I think this is going to be a nice fight. And the interesting part, too, is because the way they wrote it, or I guess the way they did the episode, is they 100% like pushed into the idea that Shinra is going to have to fight this demon. When Shinra was fighting this demon, and when the fighting started happening, we saw it panned to the people inside of the tabernacle, and they were like, "Okay, guys, we have the 4 people on the outside. We should be fine. Let's continue on searching for what these code means and whatever. They're going to do their investigation." I was like, yes, yeah, it was so good. I was so happy to see that. But I mean, that was basically the episode. It wasn't like, other than that, was like basically, it was more informative than anything. I was super happy for it. We did get some things confirmed from the preview discussion. It was the fact that it seemed like more, while not all animals can talk, it seemed like, from what I can tell, someone was telling me in the comment section below in my previous preview discussion, but it seemed like when watching this episode that the people that the lady in black were talking, or the animals that the lady in black were talking with, could talk, because it said that she taught them to talk, and it was just very much a general audience of animals there, and that was it basically. So, and it seemed to be before the vegetation around the tabernacle had happened, so I would say, and there's a bunch of trees in there, so this is like, I don't want to like parse or like too deeply into it, because it's gonna be a bunch of like math and stuff like that, and not that it's a bad thing, it's just like you're really like pushing the limits here, right? Because this is an anime, right? So for the most part, it seems like some animals can talk generally, and we just haven't met those animals. I could be like, it's not going to matter in some cases, like maybe they just don't even show another animal talking, but it seems like there are other animals that can talk, so I wouldn't put it against them if we saw another animal that could talk, which would be kind of get interesting. I don't know why they would use an animal to talk, but I guess it'd be interesting in some cases. We find some like hellhound wanting to like divulge some secret plan that this lady had or something, or maybe she manifests as a hellhound or something. I don't know. But anyways, I don't know what you guys think about this episode in the comment section down below. Other than that, I will do a review on the previous discussion. But peace out, guys, and have a nice day.